Today's episode is brought to you by Domain.com.
Hey, what's up guys? Andrew Kramer here for Film Riot's Epic Summer. Today we're going to be talking about my short film, Intercept. I've also got some questions here, and we'll throw out some answers, so let's get started. All right, first question. The biggest issue, I don't think there's an issue with up-and-coming visual effects artists. I think it's important to try to find out what your creative voice is. What is the design aesthetic that you want to create for yourself? And try to break away from the things you learn and start thinking about what is your vision and what are your ideas. It's always easier to try to do what someone else has done, but this is an opportunity for every artist, and especially when you're young, to try things out and to experiment and do things until you find out what is your creative voice. What do you say to people who think you can't be a good director because all you do is visual effects? Well, I think it's a little narrow-minded to think that way because there's a lot of other good reasons why I may not be a good director, and you don't want to, have such a narrow outlook on it because there's a lot of other things I'm really terrible at. Don't forget about those. For me, the most important thing to keep in mind when doing visual effects is trying to think about what would it look like if it were shot practically in camera. So if you're doing a stunt, you're doing some crazy visual effect, if you were actually going to do this for real, how would you set it up? What would it look like? Where would the camera be? I think sometimes people use CG cameras in ways that are very unrealistic and that would not be possible in the real world. If like a helicopter is flying past a camera, where is that camera? Is the camera like on a long stick and the helicopter is flying right now? It's not likely. So when you shoot helicopters, you think, okay, if I'm on a rooftop with a telephoto lens, that's probably how it's gonna be shot, or it's gonna be an air-to-air shot from another helicopter at a safe distance with a long lens. So I try to think about how would it really be shot, and then I can start figuring out, okay, now I may embellish it here. Once you think about how it would look, then you can start embellishing it and creating some more specific elements to it to take it, either into a hyper-real world or to tone it down a little bit and create a more low-key visual effect. So definitely think about in-camera, glow, light, chromatic aberration, all those things to make sure that it looks photographic and not, too crisp and perfect. What is the most effective way to direct an actor with lots of visual effects involved? Well, I don't know the best way, but what we like to do is make sure that we communicate clearly what is actually gonna be happening in the scene. You don't wanna just be sitting back on the green screen with some coffee. You wanna let them know, okay, here's what it looks like, here's how big it is. Give them things to think about in their mind so that they can react to the right level, to the scale that you're envisioning for the visual effects. What visual effects artists, directors, or movies inspire you to create? Who do you look up to? I look up to Ryan Connolly. That's it, period. Difficult part about directing the film was not having a lot of control over locations and not having, a lot of time. We shot most of it at night, so you have like a window when the sun goes down to, when everyone is exhausted. So you're making a lot of decisions around the time constraints and, and the availability and the locations and things like that. So that was tricky, but it also made it really interesting because you're constantly thinking on your feet. You're thinking of creative ways to solve the scene or the shot with what's around you. And there's no time to be like, yeah, in a couple weeks we'll shoot this and then we'll have, you're just sitting there on the day. You're like, okay, we got 2 more hours until the sun comes up, and how can we get this shot? How did you and Ryan meet? All right, interesting story. We were both in Hollywood and there was this big dinner for all these filmmakers. Steven Spielberg was there, a bunch of directors, producers. We were actually down the street at an Arby's. He was getting a roast beef and cheddar, and it was 2 for $2.22. It was some deal, and so we ended up, we saved some money. So how do I communicate with the DP about visual effects that are not quite there yet? Well, luckily I shot most of this film myself, so I knew what the visual effects was gonna be and made things go a lot faster. I think, it's always good for directors to know how the visual effects process works because movies are more and more becoming visual effects centric, and if not, there's certainly a visual effects element to almost every feature film. So having a sense in how the work is gonna be done helps so that you shoot it in the right way because you don't want to be spending the time fixing things that could have been sorted out relatively easy on set. I think this goes back to the idea of letting everyone know how the shot is going to look even if the visual effects are missing. And just like with your actors, you want to let your DP know what the expectation is. They can always help and come up with ideas about interactive lighting and camera shake and all these kinds of things that will maybe help add to the final visual effect that can't be done after the fact. And particularly when we're talking about making the work easier for visual effects artists, that's only gonna allow them to have more time to make the visual effects work better. How do you come up with ideas and know if it's good enough to be filmed? You know, I don't know what makes a good idea, but I know that when somebody's passionate about an idea, that's gonna come across on film. And people who care about something so much, they should make films about those things. If you're trying to find something that somebody else cares about and make the movie yourself, you're not gonna be able to get through it with that same passion. So it's always like, as you write, write what you know, they say, direct the kinds of things that you're interested in, you're excited about. That's the only way that you're gonna make a film that you're gonna be in 100%, and hopefully the audience will see your passion and enjoy your art. Do you wanna make your own feature film? Yes, all by myself. I wanna star in it, I'm gonna make it on the computer, and nobody's gonna see it. It's gonna be my secret film, my secret feature film. What's the hardest part about your job? Well, I have a lot of different jobs, but I think the hardest thing is trying to do everything at a high level. I think the more experience you have, the more you realize how you've been doing everything wrong, or you realize how much better things can be. And it just takes way more effort and more work to get it to that level. And of course, it's worth it, but my advice to young filmmakers is just go make a movie before you actually learn how to make a movie, because then it's just slow and takes forever and you actually care. Right now, take your carefree energy and go make that movie. What is your most important rule for directing? Safety. Anytime we do stuff, I wanna make sure that people are safe, nobody's gonna get hurt, nobody's exploding that's not supposed to be exploding. Unless they're supposed to be exploding, you don't want people exploding. And then personally, I think knowing what you wanna get, have a vision for what the shots are, the angles, the looks. It goes a lot faster if you have a good idea what you wanna get and you're not experimenting too much on the day, because obviously once you get there, there's gonna have a whole bunch of other ideas and change it up. So if you have a little bit of an idea what you want, you won't be totally distracted by a whole different idea, and you make a different movie and it doesn't even have the same actors in it. What do you think the future holds for visual effects since it's all so accessible? I hear this question a lot, and I think the real answer is that the accessibility doesn't necessarily change the craft, because you still have to work hard and make high quality stuff. And I think the people who are pushing the limits of their visual effects skills, of their design skills, they're still gonna get the recognition, and I think they'll still be successful. Yeah, there's probably more sort of middle of the road kind of jobs, but if you really want to be a high-end visual effects artist, I know that if you put in the effort and you take the time to learn the software on a really high level, there'll always be opportunities for you. Hey dude, hey Michael, what's your best advice for a young filmmaker who wants to learn visual effects but doesn't have billions of dollars? Well, I actually get this question quite a bit, typically from my billionaire community members, and they're always asking me, Andrew, what software should I learn? I have billions of dollars. And they're so perplexed by the idea. And they're like, yeah, I just have billions of dollars, there's so much money, and I bought a whole software company. I just needed the software, but I bought the whole company. And what software should I learn? What company should I buy? What software company should I buy? But in all seriousness, I think learning as much as you can from as many different sources as possible. We do tutorials at VideoCopilot.net. Film Riot, they do tutorials, they do on-set tips and tricks. There's a lot of resources for information, and you really just need to get out there and learn by doing it. Like, I can't tell you how much I've personally learned shooting this short film, Intercept, and I feel like there's always something new you're gonna be learning no matter what you do, and if you just wait around until you know everything before you actually start doing it, that's not a good idea. You gotta get out there and, what's a good slogan, just do it. What's some other good slogans? Eat fresh. I think learning anything and everything is going to help you be a better filmmaker. I think learning about history and learning about science and learning about cameras and learning about editing and sound, the more information that you have, the better you're gonna have a grasp on what you want to achieve as a director. That you'll be able to let people know, hey, I wanna create this, or I want it to feel like this or sound like that. And if you can convey the things that you know are necessary to getting your direct vision, there are people around that can help you. You cannot do everything yourself. And this is one thing I'm personally learning a lot about on this film, is that it's a team effort, and yeah, directed by, but I could not for a second have done this film without everyone else doing their job and caring about doing it right and doing it better, and even pushing me by giving me suggestions and ideas and things that we can try. And it's just a very big collaborative thing. You can't assume that you have every great idea to solve some shot or some issue. You have to be willing to listen, to see what's going on, and have an open mind to making your film better. There's gonna be an actor, there's gonna be a crew member, somebody who's gonna have a suggestion or an idea, and you just wanna be open to making the movie as good as you can make it.
I love me some domain.com. I've used them to register pretty much all my domains, and now they've got some .club goodness. .club is universal and understood globally, and it's perfect if you got a new business or you're naming your film startup, because if you think about it, any of that really is a club. The internet's all about community and collaboration, which makes .club perfect. Go to domain.com/club to register your .club domain. They're only $9.99 a year, and thousands of options are still available. And of course, make sure you use the coupon code FILMRIGHT to save 25%. It'll save you money and let them know that you heard it from us. So when you think domain names, think domain.com.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'm Andrew Kramer. We're gonna get our short film Intercept out as soon as it's ready. Thank you so much for the questions, and we will see you next time. I was gonna say something at the end, it's like a little like when you think the movie's over and there's like a little thing at the very end, and you tell your friends like, hey, did you say after the movie there was this cool thing at the end? Yeah, I should have, you should stay. You gotta stay, you never know. Sometimes there's a cool thing. Not today.